What's up, guys? Welcome to another Wheel Wednesday podcast, Behind the Wheel podcast, featuring myself, Lewis from Koenig, and
I'm Scott from I'm still Scott from Koenig.
but welcome. Thank you for joining us, guys, today. Once again, just wanted to give you basically some insight on what's going on right now. Next week, me and my boy right here, as well as Max and the team, are going to be out in Hyperfest. If you're going to be there, come check us out on the booth. I mentioned something pretty cool on the live a few minutes ago where we might be doing something really cool in the booth. Keep on the lookout for that. We're going to work out the logistics, but I'm thinking we might do a wheel giveaway that the only way you can enter is by coming to the booth. So make sure you come check us out there, as well as we're dropping some cool content this weekend and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
but I think
and there's a wheel giveaway going on right now through Hyperfest. So make sure you go over, check out Hyperfest's social media. I think they're definitely on Instagram. I don't know if they put it to Facebook, but that's going on right now. So make sure you go over there. Listen, there's a couple giveaways going on with us right now. You need to be kind of in tune with that and take advantage, because I promise you have a really good shot to win. And
the thing is just this is one of those things that I wanted to mention. It's like you said this was going to happen. Now it's happening. Mm-hmm. And if you miss it, that's your fault, because you didn't subscribe and like the videos, bro.
That was harsh. I apologize for my friend here. You know what I mean? He gets a little excited.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so today's guest, man, good guest.
Yeah, I'm excited for him, man.
I've only had we've only spoken once on the phone, but it's always good for me when I get to speak to other car people that are super car people, right?
Yes.
Because you know me, I'm a technical guy, but this shop, this crew, has so much in-house capability,
yes, sir,
that it's crazy. Yeah. Like, it's what every car guy wants to one day have at a shop that they're working on their car in.
I just saw like the video. First off, that garage is massive. Second, they do it all in house, like literally all in house. And I'm just excited because their team is now on Koenig's. We're working together, and just a collaboration. I'm excited for it. So, anyways, without further ado, we're gonna bring in Formula Drift ProSpec Driver and Mspek Performance. I would say co-owner. That's right. KASEY Kohl. What's up, KASEY? What's up? Woo! Oh.
What's going
now we see ourselves.
I
think
twice
we
as
might
good
have
now.
lost
I look 2 times delicious.
There he is.
Oh,
there we are. What's up, man?
KASEY
Sorry,
Kohl,
guys.
you're back with
Sorry,
it's all right,
course,
man. Don't worry.
Of course, somebody decided to call me right as you
I
guys
know.
said. So,
KASEY,
what's going on, guys?
You owe us no apologies. I will tell you that we are really kind of a minor train wreck. We have at least one good hiccup every podcast, and it's good to get it out of the way early.
Yeah.
Just
I
mow
agree.
through it.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's
Man,
like, sure.
So you guys got so much going on. I think that is such a key takeaway when I think about Mspek and, kind of the Mspek team that you put together, right? We got Stuckey, and he's running obviously pro. You had to get that car ready, prepped, done, and it's obviously already made around.
Yep.
Obviously,
he's on the road to Atlanta right now.
And doesn't Matt?
Yeah.
Matt drifts as well too, right? Or no? He's just helping you guys.
So Matt has fun. He's not doing anything competitively, but yeah, he's got a little Corolla AE86 with like a CA18 in it, and so he rips around, but he's not doing anything competitive. He actually is kind of crew chief for both of us right now.
There you go. So, and not only that, you help out Savannah Little, Nick Steniford. It's just constantly. Basically you're always I see the Mspek Performance logo on a lot of places right now. You guys are you're literally hitting everywhere. And I think one of the questions that Scott was kind of alluding to was, how do you handle all that, man? How on top of the fact of running your own program?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going constantly. I don't know, man. One day at a time. One project at a time, one thing at a time, and just try to keep it moving,
KASEY, let me
it's definitely a handful.
Let me ask you a question, because I think that as a car person, right? Like, so you give us a little bit. You came up. Where did we start? You're from Colorado? Am I?
No. So actually, I was born in Florida.
Okay.
Lived there till I was like 14.
Yeah.
Then I moved to South Georgia, a little town called Valdosta. Went to high school there. Went to college there. And that's really when I started getting into cars. I was actually like a big car audio person before I got into performance. So
Same.
yeah, I did a bunch of systems. I think like some of the first work I ever did on a car was like putting like underglow, like actual neons, you know, when they're actual
Right.
neon tubes, glass
Right.
tubes,
Yeah.
underneath my truck, which I still have it. And you know, then I got into systems, and then alarms and remote starts, and then video stuff. And but that was, you know, 15 to like
20 years ago.
17, 18. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm 33, so it's been a hot minute. But kind of got into it there, and then, you know, all of my friends, this is like 2006, 7, 8, right in there.
Right.
All my friends had tuner cars, you know, 350Zs were out and big, and buddies had like 240SXs and stuff like that. And I'm driving around in a F-150 that's like slammed on 20s and underglow, and, you know, like 6 subwoofers, and just ridiculous.
You were
But
literally
everybody
living the
had
time,
these tuner
huh?
cars.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah,
living.
yeah, exactly. So everybody's driving around in these tuner cars, and, you know, we're going to car shows, and they're hitting the interstate, and they're just absolutely leaving me, and I'm just like, oh, like this is, it's cool, but it sucks.
So
Like
then he
all my
stands in
homies
the
are
bed
already
of
like,
his truck and starts throwing subwoofers out to try to shed the weight.
that's it. No, I found a 240 on the side of the road for like $300, and you know, went and looked at it, and I didn't have a clue what I was looking at, and I scooped it and brought it home. It was like 2 miles from my house, so we brought it home, and I threw a battery in it, and it blew a rod through the block the first time we cranked it. And I spent the next year just basically ripping it down and figuring it out on my own, because I was in college, so I just started college, so I was like, I'm gonna figure this out. And you know, I'd done a couple wiring projects, like buddies had done like B swapped EF patches
Yeah.
and stuff like that, so I'd like helped wire in motors, and, you know, kind of had a grasp of what I was doing, but like never that deep. And then man, it absolutely took over. And then I turned 21. Actually, I moved to Colorado, and the first weekend I was there was my 21st birthday, and that was my first like drift event.
Why
So that was
Colorado?
12 years ago. Actually, so I was working like 2 or 3 jobs and going to school, and this is like '08, so this is when the economy just
Yeah.
absolutely tanked.
Right.
And Colorado was still doing really good, and I took a job doing pipeline inspection, like X-raying pipeline welding.
There's good money in that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was good money. It was traveling. I was young. I didn't have any kids or anything like that. So it was like, I'll hit the road, I'll make a bunch of money, and then you know, spend it on my cars. So that's what I did. And then 2009, 2010, oil industry kind of tanked, and
Right.
I quit that and went back to car audio. So
That's crazy. You know what's funny? Like, and this obviously we only discover on these, but like your come up is so crazily, eerily the same as mine, right? Like my first job in automotive was working at a car audio place, and that was like my thing. I was just, you know, like back then, you know, and there's a time precipice. Like you're 33, I'm almost 40, but like, so
Still
the
same time period.
time
though.
period is
Yeah.
close because let's see, I was 1999.
It's a water buddy.
I don't know what I need. 1999 was the year that I started like really hardcore getting into car audio, and I think that like there was only so much accessorizing you can do to a lot of these vehicles.
Well, I think around that time too, it was
sure.
like to have that like. I remember watching video even back then. I guess it was like the early ages of YouTube, just people just blowing it up with the freaking woofers, and it was just a thing. You know what I'm saying? So
Thanks,
you know,
Max.
it just.
So, yeah,
they brought him water.
But like, you know, with going to those competitions and like, you know, with you know, with the subwalls and
Yeah.
trying to set the decibel,
And
you know,
like
whatever.
making
Yep.
it, like,
Yeah.
I remember
And
those
so-
videos, dude. Those
So
sick-
I started
sick.
I started there, and then I kind of pivoted from there into, okay, like I can't. I've ripped apart my car or my cars or whatever 7 times to change the setups, and like I just started to lose, like this is not like I feel like I don't want to do this anymore for myself. And next thing you know, like there's that mechanical part. You know, for me, it was like I pick up a car and I take it apart, and I'm like, all right, well, you know what? It just I could put this back together, and then you put it back together, and usually the first or second or third time is a little unsuccessful. But then, you know, you start to get this hang of it, and there is this bug that starts to happen, right? Like you seriously get into like all the things that you want to do, and then if you're really one of these comprehensive sponges, you want to know more. And it's not because you don't want to pay somebody, it's because you get to that point where you're like, if I know how to do it myself, then I can like do it to the right way. Like I'll always know that I'm doing it the right way, you know?
And when I want. Yeah, the more you know, the more you know you don't know, and the
Right.
more you need to know,
Right.
you know. So
Yeah.
the deeper I get into cars, the more I realize like I don't have a clue, you know. So it's definitely, it's just like that, you know.
But every step of the way
I
is it just gets that much more exciting. And for me, like, you know,
absolutely.
even, you know, a few years ago, like I've always MIG welded, right?
Yep.
Always MIG welded. I think that was just the nature of what I needed to build parts for my car in the early 2000s, because there was just so many cars that you couldn't just buy things off the shelf for, right? But
Sure.
But then all of a sudden, like I always had this thing about TIG welding. I had a TIG welder. I wasn't very good in it. A few years ago, I said, you know what? That's it. Like I'm going to stop messing around. Like I'm going to buy a good TIG welder or a decent TIG welder, and I'm not going to stop. I'm going to weld every day.
Put it like this, Casey. If this guy could walk over here with his welding helmet, he probably would.
So
he
happy.
Probably would.
Yeah.
He'd be sitting there while he's working at the same time. Like,
yeah.
I hear that. I mean, that's the same with me, man.
Yeah.
Was like, I need to learn how to weld. So my buddy had a MIG, and I was like, all right, well, we're going to glue some parts together.
Right.
The first ones, they were awful. They were absolutely awful. You know, you don't know what you're doing with settings. You don't know what you're doing with your hands. Like you don't know what you're looking at. And you get good at that. And then you're like, all right, I can put a bash bar on my car, but I still got to call somebody to do my intercooler piping.
Right.
And you're like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, I'd rather spend the $500 on an entry level machine,
right,
and screw up $100 worth of piping than give somebody $500 to weld this together for me.
Right.
So same exact thing. I'm, I TIG now, and like we're saying, we do just about everything here now, and it's just been that evolution of, well, I can do this, so why can't I do that?
Yeah.
If I put my mind to it, if I put my mind to it, I'm always going to be able to do what I want.
So and that actually is a perfect follow-up question to what I wanted to ask. Mspek performance. First, I want to know, where did the name in general come from?
Oh man,
because you guys are all on 240s, by the way.
Yeah. I don't honestly have like a really good answer for that. If I'm completely honest, me and a buddy. All right, so I had a buddy named Mitch, and me and him were working at a car audio shop called Car Toys. And in the background, I'm drifting, and he's kind of like crew chiefing and helping change tires, and he's building a 240 in the background. And we started like. The car was reliable. We were like always driving. We weren't the guys in the pits working on the car, that kind of stuff. And people started asking us like, what are you doing? What's this? What's that? That kind of stuff. And then that kind of turned into, hey, could you do that for me? And so, we were like, yeah, sure. So we're kind of like doing this stuff in our apartment parking lot and realizing like this isn't working. So we were like, went and got a little garage together and kind of started doing little projects for people. Also gave us a place to store our stuff that wasn't like Mitch's parents' house and stuff. So we started doing that, and we're like, we need like a team name. Like, what do we want to call ourselves? And honestly, we got a little drunk one night, and we're just like sitting there playing Forza and like bullshitting back and forth. And so the M originally stood for Mitch, and
Damn
the K
it,
at
Mitch.
the end is the K is Casey. Mitch isn't around anymore, but still a good guy and everything.
Yeah.
But the K stood for Casey. And then we kind of like started throwing things back and forth, and we were heavy into wiring. So, we were building engine harnesses, chassis harnesses, doing conversion swaps. So it was kind of like Mspek wiring, or like imports to spec. We just threw all these ideas back and forth, and somebody said Mspek, and we're like, I've never heard that before. And we're like, all right, that'll probably stick. Like people will be like, what the heck is Mspek? What does that mean? And That was 2013, 14, something like that.
Wow.
I think 13. And we just kind of, I literally have some pictures in my car with just some hand cut awful vinyl that just says Mspek down the side of it. Cause I was like, I need something so somebody, so they know, and, we kind of like literally just like, I don't know, like Times New Roman freaking printed out Mspec performance and put it on the side of the car and went to a couple drift events. And then next thing we knew, we had like 12 cars sitting outside this little 2-car shop waiting for us to do stuff to them. And we just said, all right, forget the day job. We just jumped ship and went straight to it. So that's kind of what it means. But yeah, it doesn't actually have, I wouldn't say it has like a definitive meaning. It just kind of is what it is.
Man, what a blessing as a car guy, though. Like, what a blessing to, there's so many shops that they're really good about doing car things. They may have a lot of knowledge in certain areas, building engines, tuning cars, etc., but they don't really have an idea how to run a business, or they struggle to get people in the door. So to kind of come into a situation where, while you can look back and say, hey, we've put a lot of dues in, we've been working on this for a while, but when you open your shop to kind of turn the lights on and have business ready to go, that's like a really big thing, especially for new businesses.
Yeah, I'd say that's one thing, we've never struggled with clientele. There's always, I don't know, word of mouth's amazing. We've done a little bit of Facebook or Instagram advertising, but very little. Everything's really been word of mouth, and we've just never really had to worry about if we had jobs coming in. They've just kind of they've just been there. Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's been great.
So how does the journey lead? By the way, first, okay. So how does the journey lead into you and Stookie being basic, because he's a co-owner now at this point, correct?
Sure.
Yeah. So how does that happen?
So 2017, I believe, 16, 17, somewhere in there.
Okay,
anyways,
not too long ago.
Yeah. I again, I was still doing a bunch of wiring, and I was up at this shop in northern Colorado, and I was wiring up this drag S2000 for them on like AEM, and I'm looking around, and there's this Subaru with a 2J in it, and I'm like, whoa, that's kind of wild.
Right.
And I took a picture of it and I posted it on my Facebook, like, this thing's pretty sick. And then a mutual friend we had tagged him in it, and then was like, oh, this is the guy I was telling you about to go to for wiring. Apparently he'd been having all these issues and stuff. And then he showed up at the shop one day, and we started talking, and I was like, all right, we'll build that, like, we'll get this thing ready for you, we'll make it work. And I dug through the car, and it was awful. It was absolutely awful. I was like, I can't let you drive this. Like, fuel lines ran inside the car, like cages half welded, like it was just no fuses, no circuit breakers. I was like, I can't let you drive this. Like, this is gonna kill you. And he's like, well, I want to drift, and I need a drift car, and sorry, I don't know what to do. And so I ended up renting Dan my drift car for a couple of events. And we co-drove the first event we ever did, which will be his birthday's coming up as the anniversary. His birthday weekend was the first event we ever did together. We shared the car at a Vegas drift event, and we broke the shifter off in third. I did during my qualifying. And so we hammered it into third, and we ran the entire event just in third gear, like left the line in third, everything just like burnt the tires down the line. And I think I finished fifth, and he finished eighth, and the first time he'd ever drove the car. But he drove the car, and he was like, this is the best thing I've ever driven. And I was like, okay. And he was like, I think I'd like to do more competitions. And so then I rented him my car for a full season of ProSpec or Pro-Am, and maintained it. And we basically handled like all the travel and stuff for him, and kind of forgot about the Subaru. The Subaru's actually never been put back together. Ironically, the motor that was in the Subaru is what's in my ProSpec build right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so kind of crazy around circle, but yeah, so that kind of evolved, and then we started doing a bunch of events together, and then he got his license, and we were doing so much together. And I was also like, at this point, I'm like maintaining his other vehicles, and installing turbo kits and all this kind of stuff on them. And we already had the shop. We're working on like Subarus and Supras and GTRs and stuff like that. And Dan has a wild car collection. He's got a lot of cars, and we just kind of hit this point where it's like we do so much together. Instead of you having, like, he had cars in Minnesota and cars in Texas and cars in Colorado, and I was like, how, like, just get them all together, like just put them all together in one spot. And so we ended up getting a shop together, and I think we were in the shop space together for like a year, and he kind of had like half the shop and I had half the shop for customer stuff. And about a year in, we just had like a good heart to heart, and like, where's your mindset at? What's your intentions moving forward? You know, here's where I am, here's what I plan on doing moving forward. And we just kind of said, hey, you know, we're already sharing so much stuff, why don't we figure out a way to make this something more permanent? And so yeah, basically he bought part of the company in a way. And you know, and I say bought, but it was more like he brought a lot of equipment and stuff. Like, he brought the dyno to the shop that we didn't have. And in return, I, you know, good show of faith, gave him a percentage of the company. And so we've been co-owners now for 5 years, something like that. And it works great. You know, we communicate well, and you know, he knows that when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And I don't know, it just kind of fell together the same way I fell into cars and it took over. I kind of fell into the relationship with him, and it just took over. I mean, we literally, both of us just packed up our lives and moved from Denver to Oklahoma City. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things where I think we're both just all the way in, you know, so.
That's crazy.
So first, before I ask the next question, how was the wedding?
The wedding was nice. His wedding was really, really nice. So
By the way,
congratulations
for anyone who's listening, Dan Stuckey just got married this weekend, and man.
Yeah. So no, it was beautiful. It was super nice. Me and his family get along well, and we have so many mutual friends at this point that it was like we showed up, and it was just all of my friends were there. So it was like it was super cool. It was a really nice time. So
that's all. Well, congratulations to him. So basically, what I wanted to ask you. So now that you, because obviously you set up shop in Colorado, had the you know, had everything over there. It was a different ball game. Now you moved to Oklahoma City. What has that change been like for you guys? Has it been different? Has it been better? Has it been the same?
I honestly, like, for me, not too much has changed. We went from being focused on like customer builds to where we're focusing on the program now. You know, we've got a couple of customers that we've kept, but for the most part now it's really focusing on the program, on FD, and making a run at that, and trying to make whatever we can out of it. But for me, I still live in this box. It's just a different box in a different state. You know, which is fine. That's how I like it. You know, I enjoy what I do. So it's calmer. There's no traffic. Everything's cheaper. You know, I have a 3-bedroom house here, and it costs less than my 1-bedroom apartment in Denver did. You know, so to me, like, I get to do what I love. I get to have a slightly higher quality of living, and at the exact same time, it doesn't cost as much. So I get to dedicate a little bit more to driving in my race car and program and all that. So it's for me, it's all pluses.
Well, you also now have, you know, what you told me the other day. You got the police watch, you know, checking out the spots. So you're good, right?
Oh yeah. I was here at like 2 a.m. and I just heard the squeal outside, and I walked outside, and there's cops checking out. I daily drive an Evo, and the cops like checking out my Evo, and I was like, "Can I help you?" And he's like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "What's up, man?" And he's just like, "Just saw a random car in the parking lot. This is like a big drag racing area." I was like, "Nope, I work here." And so I invited him in, and next thing I know, I've got 3 or 4 police officers standing in the shop, and
nice.
They're checking everything out. Yeah, and I'm cool with that, you know. So they thought it was super cool. So they're like, "Well, we'll watch the shop for you, you know.
Nice.
And let us know when you're whenever you're gonna be out of town, let us know, and we'll make sure that we drive through and check and make sure nobody's messing with anything." I'm like,
listen,
love it. So
OKC, man, good looks on having everybody's back. You don't get that around here.
yeah. So no, good guys. They were really easy to talk to. They love what we were doing, and you know, I think I've got to be like one of 2 Evos in the state. There's like, they just don't exist here. So like, they've seen me driving. Yeah, they just don't. I've seen 1 Evo 10 since I moved here back in November, and that's it. Every time I drive it, somebody's got something to say about it, telling me they don't see him and stuff. And the cop was like, "Oh yeah, I've seen you around town." And I was like, "I hope that's a good thing." He's like, "Well, I haven't
Right.
pulled you over." And I was like, "All right."
I guess
So,
it's good enough. Yeah.
yeah.
So now you have a tremendous amount of capability in your shop, but there's one thing you just, and I really want to hear about that, but there's one thing that you said before that is interesting for me. So as a business perspective, you kind of are, keeping a few customers and maybe being selective on the jobs you're taking, but you're really focusing on running the whole FD program between, you and Dan, and maybe some other vehicles that you're maintaining and trying to keep in the loop. The one thing that I know about, from all the years of working with different teams and drivers and et cetera, is that while drifting is super exciting, and yes, there'll always be sponsorships and stuff like that, most of these teams and these guys, they have other jobs. They have other income. This isn't the sport that is like golf where, you win one tournament and you can have enough payday to make it through. So when you kind of run your business in a way where, you kind of make a conscious effort that you're going to focus all in on this one thing,
Sure.
how does it feel? Like how do you get through with that as a business to kind of stay afloat but still manage to run these programs because they're expensive?
Sure. I mean, being completely honest, I work for Dan in a sense,
Right.
I give Dan about 40 hours a week. So that's a big part of it. Luckily Dan is set up well. He's been smart with his money. He's got investments. He's got things going on that allow him to pursue this
Right.
and to afford it. And it's kind of one of those things where we're both, I'd say, cognizant of the fact that like he could have 5 people taking care of the fab and the tuning and the wiring and the everything, or he can pay me, and I can take care of it. And so me and him kind of came up with a deal that works for both of us because
Right.
he's gonna spend money on cars. That's what Dan loves to do. So if I can make it cheaper for him and he can make it easier on me and I don't have to worry about as many things, then it's a win-win for both of us. So that's kind of where we've, again, like I said, we're all in.
Yeah.
He's in all honesty, yeah, Dan kind of cuts my paycheck and allows me to do this. So it's a nice thing that we have that.
But it is a good thought, and the reason why I think the dynamic is so interesting is just the fact that it does take a lot to run these programs, and it's not even
Sure.
just in all money. Like, I mean, between money and parts and time and energy and arrangements that you have to make to travel and coordination that you have to make with
Mhm.
different things. But the fact that you're able to do so much in house really
Sure.
changes the game. So can you help us run through it? Because I think it's interesting that look, there are a lot of shops that are good at building engines or good at swaps or can tune your car well or maybe are known for one type of car. But people that can do it all and do it all well to make a reliable build, that's few and far between.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, again, kind of what we were talking about earlier. It Once you know something, you don't know something, you kind of want it more. So
Right.
yeah, I do. I mean, literally, I do full fabrication. So metal work, cages, all that good stuff, chassis work. I do the wiring side of things, so engines, chassis harnesses. I do tuning. We're actually waiting on our dyno to show up, which all of these things, like to a point, self-taught, but also I've been lucky that I've had people around me that see that I want to learn and they're willing to share information and
Yeah.
stuff along the way. So, I wouldn't be where I am without people that I've leaned on. So, but tuning. Engine assembly. I honestly, I've done a couple of bottom ends and stuff, but like Dan's motor, Rad Industries, he
Right.
put the bottom end together in his car, but it showed up. I stacked the head. I'll put all the components on it. We'll get it in the car. So I would say we do everything except for paint work. That's kind of like our one thing that we don't really do. And luckily we moved to OKC and immediately found a dude that was into drifting. And our buddy Nick, he comes and hangs out and he just wants to have a good time. He took care of all the paint on my car and, you know, helping Dan out and stuff. But, you know, I got Lewis met Matt earlier, but my buddy Matt is a composite, just super smart with composites. You know, did stuff for like Boeing and stuff. And we brought him in and he kind of looked at me and said, all right, you know, like, you're going to help me with composites. And I said, cool. And so now we make our own body kits and do our own carbon work and stuff. And so it just kind of, again, leaning on the people around me and having the want to learn has kind of made it to where we can do just about everything. But I am also somebody that, like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it well. Like I can't stand putting something out that's subpar. Like it just absolutely irks me. Like I will lose sleep over it, you know? So,
you know,
knowing
if I would like, you're sometimes these conversations, I like to have these conversations. I told you this because you do have a lot of similarities to this man. You don't even know. It's just, I've had conversations with him about stuff like this, and he's very similar in the sense, like, he cannot, if it doesn't feel right to him, he will start it all over again. And it seems like you're the same way, where you're like, this is not how I want it to be. So we're starting, and I'm the type to be like, come on, man, like this is okay, it works all right. He's like, nah, dude, we got to start it all over again. So I think yeah, to me, to meet people like yourself who are self-sufficient, who can kind of do everything on their own, and, you know, it's very cool, man. That's really cool that you are that type of person. And I think that's a specific type of person to, you know, and being able to run and do everything that you do. It's really cool to see it from my end.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's you know, the same thing with the fact that we've never had to really look for customers. I think if we were putting out like subpar work, that wouldn't have been the case, you know. Like the good work travels fast, you know. So it's one of those things where I may not meet your deadline. I'm probably not going to meet your deadline, you know. Like that's just realistic. But at the end of the day, you'll be happy with what you got back. So that's more important to me.
Man, composites. I'll tell you that I feel fairly confident in that. I'm a really fast learner. I like to learn how things work so that I can understand them and then be able to apply that rather than just try to like learn step by step, because I think that's kind of like a hack around. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. Like, you really need to understand why something works and how it works, because it allows you to then move that knowledge in and look at it for what it is, rather than try to like, oh, well, I don't know what to do next. But composites are the one thing that I think have absolutely just skated through. I've tried to do composites multiple times. I've spent a fair deal of money on materials, and I have really never been able to perfect a part. So it's a tricky piece. So it's interesting you guys do all that in-house.
I was just watching.
Yeah, the composites, it's definitely something like, there's so many ways to do it wrong, you know. You can screw it up in so many different ways. And you know, luckily with the car audio, you know, that kind of plays into it. I did a lot of fiberglass work. So I've done so many fiberglass boxes and you know, enclosures and stuff like that. That truck that I was talking about at the beginning, it's got a full fiberglass back wall, you know, just absolutely massive. And that was one of the first things I ever did. I was like, screw it, we're going to do this. And I built this like 500-pound fiberglass back wall for my truck, you know. But, you know, Matt came in and he was just like, you can do that, you can do this. And I was like, if you say so, you know, let's get it. And, you know, luckily I have him, he's guiding the way. And,
shout out to Matt.
You know, but there's so many ways to screw up composites. And I know for a fact that you know, I wanted to do it for a long time. But again, juggling all the other things that you've got going on, to take the time to learn a new skill like that, something that is not only labor intensive, but monetarily intensive. If you don't come through, man, like carbon and resin, and it's not cheap, you know. So having somebody that knew the ways, and as soon as I started could be like, nope, don't do that. You're gonna ruin that part if you do that. It was like, oh, thank goodness, you know, because it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, but you would also agree. And because I came up in that same roots of doing a lot of fiberglass work and stuff like that, especially like with subs and enclosures. And you would agree that composites are still a far bit away from the days of stapling felt into preform into kind of a freeform mold and layering resin and fiberglass mats into things. It's just it's got this mind of its own, and you have to almost know how that the material is going to flow and how everything's going to come together, and then you got to be super clean on the prep and the different. I mean, there's a mountain of stuff on all sides of composites that, daunting.
Yeah. No, I mean the body kit, like the kit that's on Dan's car. I'm gonna have a matching kit on my car, different colors and stuff. But when we first did that kit, I think from like, hey, we're gonna do this to we have a kit on the car. It was 3 of us, 7 days a week, 12 hours for a solid 3 months. To fit it up, make it look how we want, make the molds, pull the molds, prep everything, start laying to pulling parts, like to having a kit it was 3 months of 7 days a week, 12 hours a day with 3 people. And it's definitely time intensive. It's not for, it's, if you just want, I want a fiber, or I want a carbon fiber, this, like, you're probably better off buying it than
making it.
Than you are. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and it's interesting
my
too.
My phone just gave me a notification that I should have plugged it in, so I'm gonna walk around.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll do a shop tour all the way to the plug. We're good.
Okay, so I got my car back here. It's a mess in here. I'm going absolutely ham. So this is my new car for ProSpec. Then this is my old car that got my license in. Dan got his license in. It is an absolute turd now at this point, but it still does the job. And then we've got that's Dan's 35, his GT3. Matt's over here. Matt's over here doing all the carbon work.
Yeah,
so he's going on there.
Sup?
Yeah, we've got I don't know if you can see in the background.
What's that white car all the way in the back?
That's R34 GTR.
I thought it was.
Oh my god!
So
this guy's about to have a heart attack.
Let me see here.
You guys have all the cars that I want.
Yeah, so 32 back there, 34 there.
Okay.
So
man.
And then 2 JZ 350Zs behind the Porsche. So bunch of stuff going on in here.
Are these all your cars or are these customers' cars?
So the 34 and then this orange car back here, that orange S14, those are customers, and then the rest of it is mine and Dan's. So
oh my god,
I just spotted the cell phone charger.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
So Casey, tell me. All right. So I want to ask you because I want to talk about your program.
Yeah, that's
right?
that's what I want to get.
Before we do that, I want you to tell me one thing, because I think it's a good bookend for somebody that may be watching this that really doesn't have any idea. What is a typical day for you? Well, that's not even the right words. We know there are no typical days, but what does a day look like, or a week look like, when you're running in 2 different series, you're trying to prep 2 different cars, you may be dealing with a few customers here and there, but you're also trying to coordinate a program and get the cars built in. What does it look like? Like when do we start in the day? When do we wake up? When do we stay at the shop till?
So I try, the keyword try, really, really hard to be here like 9 a.m.
Yeah.
That's kind of like that's comfortable. My brain naturally wakes up at like 8 o'clock, something like that. So I get up and I live really close. I live like 3 miles away. So I get up, I kind of do my thing in the morning, say hi to my wife, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I try to get here by 9. Usually Matt's meeting me here about the same time. And then I would say it really depends. It depends on like how close we are to an event, what's going on there. But I am typically here most nights. I'd say on the early side of things, I leave here at like 10:30. On the late side of things, I leave here like 2 a.m. And it just really depends. Recently, my car's been super, super heavy. Like I've just been absolutely going insane on it. The 2 weeks before Long Beach, I kind of put a brake on it and we focused on Dan's car, and it made sure that it was 100%, like motor and everything was already in it. So we made sure it was 100%, but it's I would say it's more like schedule dependent. I'm going to make sure that like whatever's coming up, that's what's taken care of. Obviously, like that's priority. But I bounce around, man. So like I said, I get here at 9. Recently, the last like week has been wiring on the car. So getting here at 9, kind of decide what section of the car I'm going to work on, what I'm going to wire on, get moving on that. Matt's usually like prepping composites because we had to make 4 kits this year. So I mean that's 11 or 9 pieces per kit. So 4 of those were 36 panels that had to be made this year, and each of those panels is at least a 6-hour process. So we typically can knock out like 2 in a day if we're like moving. But he'll be prepping, like cutting materials and stuff like that, and then he'll hit me up probably like 11 when he's got everything prepped, and I'll go over there, help him wet lay up, get everything set up. We'll get all the carbon, everything. And then usually we'll end that'll be like 12:30, 1 o'clock, something like that. And then we'll go get lunch. We'll come back. I'll get back on wiring or programming or something. And I don't know, like it literally, like it just depends on what's coming up. But I've been kind of, we talked about some of the other drivers and stuff. We take care of Derek Madison and Austin Matta, and we're bringing,
that's right.
Yeah, we're bringing Tommy Lemaire on. He's Canadian, 3-time Canadian champion, so he'll be out in a full Mspek livery matching car this year.
Nice.
So I've been handling some of their stuff. We've ProSpec had to switch to Link, so we've got I don't have time right now, so I contacted another company. They're making the adapters to put the computers in their car, but leaving their leaving their wiring alone, so that if they ever want to go back to their old computers, their tunes, everything's on it, they just plug it back in and go. So contacting, making sure that all of that's in the pipeline, that all of it's happening. Making sure that everything with Tommy's going, since he's bringing his car down from Canada. We're going to be storing it and moving all of his stuff all around the country from event to event. So just kind of balancing back and forth between those things, calling vendors, making sure that parts are either on the way or getting ordered, or just checking up on things like that, talking to sponsors, making sure that we're kind of holding up our end of the bargain. Like I was listening to Luis, that it's a relationship here. We know what you guys offer, but I got to make sure I'm doing my part as well. So we probably have 20 different sponsors that we're dealing with, and I just have to make sure that we're holding our pieces of the puzzle together for that. Making sure that all the pieces are together for travel, for hotels, for flights, for rentals, for make sure tires are ordered, fluids for the next time, like just kind of keeping everything. all of that balanced. And like I said, I honestly, like I 10's an early night, but it's gone. I get here and I'm doing a couple things, and next thing I know, it's midnight. I'm like, all right, well, that was today.
It's crazy because, like, first off, I think that that's, if you gave me a choice of what I would do all day long for forever, that's it. You know what I mean? Like what you like, I know how tough it is. I've been there, I've done that stuff, and like I know how those days are long and how exhausting it is, but there also is this level of what you're doing is always so, look, I'm not saying there's not frustration, right? There's, and listen, we all know what it's like when you're cramped on the, with your head or your back against a floorboard while you're staring up into the back of a dash where you're trying to, and like, we all know how aggravating some of these things are, but like at the end of the day, the reason that time goes by so quickly, besides the fact that you're so busy, is because you're not clock watching. It's almost like a time warp. Like you just start working, and next thing you know, like it's like, oh my God, like I can't, how did it even happen like this? And I think there's a real blessing to that, but there's also this curse, which is that, first off, your hands are probably always dirty. Your wife probably wants to know where you are most of the time. You chronically feel like you're exhausted, but you know that you're just going to keep going. You don't know, right? They don't. Meal times get skipped, and then you start eating at 3 a.m. because you just got home from work.
Food gets skipped like completely.
Right, right. These are things that are encompassing of somebody that's not even just a car enthusiast isn't the right word. Like, like that eats, breathes, and sleeps this stuff.
Sure.
And listen, I think that there's so much that these are the people that you want to be associated with, that you wanted to work with? Because there's plenty of shops out there that they come in at 9 and they're gone by 6 and they don't care.
And that's why and I mentioned this before too. This is what I'm talking about. Those people that always ask about why, how do I get sponsored and stuff like that. Look, at the end of the day, man, you can see through the lines. Look at the reason why I was attracted to working with Casey is exactly this reason. It's because you can just tell the man's into
beard,
it,
right?
And his beard, yeah, too. But my man's into it, and it's something that you can't trade. You can't trade that type of passion. You know what I mean? So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I gotta wake up in the morning and accomplish something, man. Like if I, so I snapped my arm like completely, like clean at the joint, snowboarding, of course, with Dan, and had like a gnarly surgery. I got like 2 plates and 12 screws and all this stuff. And, they were telling me, like you got to take these medicines and this and that. And man, I made it 2 days of sitting at my house and I was like, I'm losing it. My wife was like, what? And I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm absolutely losing it. She's like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to go back to work. So like literally 2 days after breaking my arm, I'm in a sling and I wired Dan's pro car in a sling, like,
which honestly, from somebody that's done a lot of wiring is baffling. Like I mean, I can imagine what you did, but it must have been incredibly uncomfortable the entire time. I mean, like you need 2 hands to wire. Like you're not going to wire with one hand. So clearly you brought your sling arm over.
Everything's all nice.
Yeah.
Tight in here. Yeah.
Yeah. It's wiring is one of those things that takes just so much detail. And like, so if you're not attention to detail oriented, you can make a horrible effery
colorblind
out of. Ooh, that's a good point. I never thought about that.
Yeah, you can't be colorblind to wire.
Right. That is a that is a monumental point that I've never thought about. I agree with you.
So I think the next thing, and just because you got a lot going on, and obviously you already told us about your day, so we're taking some time out of your day already. So
yeah,
no worries.
But we wanted to get into your program, like now, this is your first year, but obviously you earned that license through your hard work. Tell me about the journey to get to the license that you've gotten, because I know the story's out there, but. Even for myself, I want to kind of get more deep into it.
So, like I said, first like drift event was right when I moved to Colorado, and first day I was by the end of the day I was like connecting the course, nothing amazing, but connecting the course, and I was bit. And I saw some of the guys out there that were already driving in like pro-ams and stuff, and my mind was blown, and then you go back even further, like even though I was in the car audio and stuff, like I was going to Nopi, and like there's Nopi Drift, we're doing Nopi Nationals at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and Forrest Wang is out there, and Nick Hogan's in his Viper, and stuff like this. So I'm seeing the drifting. I know what it is. I like it. And I wanted into it. So we go to 2009. I'm going to my first drift event, getting the hang of it by the end of it, getting hooked on it, watching these other guys that are way better than me, and picking their brains and what they've done to their cars, and how they got this far and all that kind of stuff, and kind of the hopes and the dreams of doing this start building. And I devoted like every free penny I had to drifting, and by like 2012, 13, I'm pretty decent. I drove for a team called Triple Crown Drift for a little while. We did a lot of events. But I never had the money to like attack a full season, like to go after a license. And so it was always like, I'll do this event and then we'll go to this series and I'll do this event, and, a lot of local stuff, but never like the time and the money to just attack a full season. I'm working a regular job. They're not apt to you taking off, 8 weekends in a year to go chase something. So again, just kind of started progressing, got better and better. Dan kind of comes into the picture. I would say I'm probably doing like 12 events a year, something like that. Like 3 or 4 of them are at the pro-am level. The rest of them are like local stuff. Dan wants to drive the car. I say, okay, we kind of start doing his thing. I kind of backseat myself in the car, honestly, to make it happen for him. I think the first year he was with me, we did 13 events. And drift season's kind of like April to October or whatever. So we're basically every other weekend we're in a different state. He's driving the car, so there's not really like time for me to drive the car. Plus the wear and tear on it. Like I need to make sure it's good for him. So we kind of do his thing, and then he gets his license, and I mean, we're all the way up to like 2017. This is 18. So this is, a few years now, 8 years of me just kind of messing around and having fun with it and wanting to be good, but just never having the time and the funds. Dan gets his license. He's like, we're going to do this. We're going to do Formula Drift. We're going after it. I've been building his car in the background for the purpose of going to ProSpec. He's like, let's get some sims. So we get some sims. We start doing a lot of sim driving together, which is absolutely invaluable. I can't like stress the value that a sim can bring to somebody that's an up and coming driver. Like you can make a lot of really bad habits, but you can learn a ton. So we get sims. We do a lot of driving there. Dan's into his new car, which means my car is back to me.
Right.
So I start driving more frequently. Then I break my arm, which I told you about. So I'm kind of backseated for like, I don't know, 8 months or so. Go out, try to do a competition. I drove like half the day, and like my arm was just like giving out on me. The car's been beat on for a few years now by Dan. Like he wrecked it a couple of times, and it's had its heyday. So it's not the most reliable thing. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do more sim. I'm going to try and rehabilitate this a little bit more. I'm going to make sure the car is more reliable. And I didn't drive my car for like 8 months. I was just sim driving a bunch. And basically we kind of saw that there was a shootout in Vegas. And this is just over a year ago. We did Drift Week. Like we came off like 3 weeks on the road of doing Drift Week, and the next weekend was an event in Vegas for licensing. And he was like, "You want to do it?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I'd love to do it." So we got back, we prepped the car, we threw it in the trailer, we immediately drove to Vegas. And my wife's like, "You've been gone for 3 weeks. How are you gonna hit the road again?" I was like, we got to do what we got to do. Went to Vegas, and first time in the car in like 8 months. Drove some of the best driving I've ever driven in my life, and took home a license. And that was really it. It kind of, like I said, it's been something that's always been there. I'm always driving, but it was never the chance to really pursue a license. And so I think that honestly, I probably wasn't ready to win a license. I wasn't at that level of driving either. But then the bit of driving, like I say, me and Dan drive together a lot. Driving with Dan constantly, him wanting to progress, him wanting to be better, and then me just being along for that ride instantaneously. It just made me better, like who you hang out with and what's around you is what's going to elevate you. So it just made me a better driver. And I think that the time everything kind of fell together, got the license. And about the same time, we decided, hey, like, you got your license, I got my license, let's make a full go at this. And that's when we started talking about getting out of Denver, because the cost was just through the roof. And we were having like stuff stolen from the shop and stuff, and we just kind of like, we're getting burnt out on it. It was honestly just kind of like, what's the point? You come in and you plan on doing this, and next thing you know, you're spending the day doing this because somebody decided to cut your fence down and steal a car or some shit. So it's just super frustrating, and we just decided this is what we're going to do. So we moved to Oklahoma, and now we're chasing Formula Drift. And so we drive together all the time. So I think that we've just kind of went from like being like okay, mediocre, to just an absolute elevation in both of our driving in the last like 2 years, 3 years.
So basically you're saying like the sim racing really helped.
The sim's huge. We were probably putting in, I'd say on average, at least an hour a night, if not 2 or 3. There's times that me and Dan would look up and it'd be 3, 4 in the morning, and we were still just absolutely going at it. And like, all right, I got to go get a couple hours of sleep before we got to get back to the shop,
Assetto? Are you guys using Assetto mainly?
Yeah, Assetto. So everything we do is in Assetto. We tried iRacing, and we do a little bit of like dirt rally and stuff, but for the drifting, Assetto is definitely the way to go. So.
Look at that. Well, that means that we need to get a setup.
I know. I've been talking about for years now. For years I've been talking about. But you know what it is like? I feel like this is where I'm conflicted, right? I'm never going to be like a drifter. We just don't have I don't have the bandwidth as far as time.
Yeah.
I also don't have, like, we're in New York, so there is no real good outlet to be able to, you know, easily accessibly find a place to drift, right? You have to really go to like Club Loose, you know,
Jersey.
Yeah, Jersey.
So
really.
so like, but so every time I go to spend a few grand on like a sim to be able to give myself that ability to, you know, just be able to do it, I run into that thing of, well, but I'd rather just buy some more parts for cars.
Sure.
So, you know, I think I just gotta bite the bullet, because I want to do it, but you know, it's just not accessible to me here.
Sure. No, I think like I would have, if I had gotten as much seat time in a real car as I have on the sim. Oh my God, I would have wrecked 150 cars, and I would have, you know, I would have blown through, you know, $1 million in tires, and it just, of course, there's no substitute for real seat time,
Of course.
but the sim's a damn close second. You know, but we again, we do, like, even in Assetto, we still do like road racing and stuff. Me and Dan, like, I think for like 4 months we went back and forth. We were driving the Porsche 911 Hybrid Evo at Nürburgring.
Yeah.
And we would literally like go back and forth, and like one of us would beat the other's time, and then the other would just go at it until they could beat that time, and then we'd do it again. And I mean, we got to where we were doing Nürburgring in like almost sub 5 minutes, you know.
That's nice.
And we have it memorized, you know. I know where the lift points are, and but it's not drifting, and I'm never ever going to be in a car like that around Nuremberg, and I'm aware of that, but it's still it's a lot of fun. And you know, it's, again, I'm a car guy, so you know, 16 hours a day at the shop isn't enough. I need to go home and drive a car for another 3. And my wife's like, go to bed. I'm like, yeah, you know. I think maybe eventually.
I think that's what keeps, like, you know, what's always, like, automotive is not the industry that you make your money in, right? Like, I mean, I'm not saying that people haven't, but like for me, it's like, you know, what has always kept me here or in this part of the aspect is just the fact that it doesn't matter whether you're working with a spreadsheet or you're talking to a driver or you're helping, you know, work on a wheel or whatever it may be. You kind of always have this consciousness that you're messing with things that are cars, and kind of, you know, kind of bringing some of visions that you have, like, or functions or feedback, like, to reality, right? So there is that piece that always feels good. But man, I'll tell you, like, you know, I can just get lost in anything automotive for just way too much time. My wife really doesn't like my garage because I spend just way too much time there. And you know, the problem is you step in there for a few minutes thinking you're just going to do one little thing, and next thing you know,
no, never.
Yeah, I go inside and I'm like the lights are dark, everybody went to sleep, and I'm like, oh damn, like you know, it probably wasn't the best move, but
no, luckily my wife, you know, we've basically been together since like 2006. And so she's kind of seen, you know, like I said, that's right when I started really getting into cars. And so she went from like having just the normal like high school sweetheart that was like, you know, played some video games occasionally and would go out to eat and stuff like that, to somebody that's completely absorbed into this. And she's kind of gone with the progression, and she knows who she has. And you know, I'm lucky for that, because I know that what I do and how I am about it would not work with a lot of people. But you know, at the old shop, we built her a little art studio in the top of it, and she'd be there till 3 a.m. with me, just doing her artwork in her room. And you know, she knows where I am. She knows what I'm doing. She's not worried about it. You know, I'm sure sometimes she's like, can we go out to eat, or, you know, whatever. But
Chipotle.
She knows who she has, and she knows that I'm the same guy every day. You know, I'm not gonna be something different tomorrow. Like, she doesn't have to worry about that.
I tell you, look, I offer my girlfriend Chipotle, she's good. Like, you know, Chipotle. Just,
for sure.
But it's funny that you said that, because I was gonna say he married his high school sweetheart too, and knows what he's about to. So
a lot of correlations. Is pretty interesting. It's like, like my wife is not a car person. She's never been, but she was the one that, like, you know, when I would be working on things, like, she would be sitting in the garage, whether reading a book or hanging out, or like would come to the track with me, and she would
Yep.
sit there until the point where she just got, I think there's always that point for me where she's just not really big into watching me almost like destroy things. So she'd get to that point where she just was like, look, I don't know if I want to come to these anymore because it's really hard to watch. And so, but yeah, I mean, listen, I think that, you can't, when you have a significant other like that, you can't do what you do without having such a support system. You just can't.
Sure.
You can't.
No, she's great, man. She actually is she's Dan and my spotter for Formula Drift.
Oh, that's
So
crazy.
She's in the spotter booth. She's constantly trying to brush up on what's happening, and she knows the rule book inside and out. She's got it memorized. She's involved. She does all of our multimedia, like our stickers, our designed for our shirts, our suits. Like she is completely involved in all of that. And I think that's kind of one of those things where if you are this involved, the best way for it to survive is to either have somebody that completely understands and is okay with it, and or somebody that is involving themselves in it. And she knows that if she, I'm sorry, I may be a little selfish, but she knows that if she wants to spend quality, good time around me, like she's got to be involved somehow,
Yeah.
And it's huge to me. It makes me love her even more because it's amazing to get to have that. She's on all of our events. She goes to every single drift event that we go to, and she's part of the team. She is part of what makes it successful, and so it's super awesome.
Yo, you're incredibly lucky though. Because,
yeah, for sure.
Because I'm not saying that. Listen, as car people, I think we all know a lot of people have similar situations or people that kind of get morphed into becoming car people just because they're around it so much. But it does take a really tight relationship, and it takes a lot of love to be able to do the kind of hours and make the kind of sacrifices that happen in these relationships so that these things can continue to move forward.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
But with that said, the last thing I kind of wanted to ask you is, obviously, you got this license. You're about to hit the pavement. You know what I mean? What does the season look like for you? Is it something that you're looking for the dub, or what does the season look like for you?
I mean, like, of course, I want to take home some carbon. Like, I mean, I think that's like, who doesn't?
Right.
It's one of those things. When we went into ProSpec the first year with Dan, we had expectations, and I think that expectations and reality don't always work out, and that to manage your expectations is what's going to allow you to be happy long term. But yeah, I'd love to take home some carbon. I think that I have the skill. I think that I know how to build the car. I think, like, there's not a doubt in my mind. Like, it's getting close and the car's not done, but there's not a doubt in my mind that this thing's going to fire up and there's not going to be any leaks, and it's going to go on the dyno and it's going to work perfect. And like, it's a system that I've got dialed in, and I just know it. So like, that's a nice relief. And then I get to drive with a lot of pro and ProSpec drivers, and I know I can hang. So that's a good bit of relief. And I don't have the stresses that a lot of rookies would have, because I've been, managing. I managed another ProSpec team before I even did Dan stuff. And so I've been involved in Formula Drift since like 2014. So I know how the schedule works. I know where you're supposed to be. I know how tech inspection works. I know how all of that goes. And so a lot of these questions that you would normally have, I don't have them, which allows me to kind of focus on other things. And I think at the end of the day, as long as I keep my mental game in check and have fun, enjoy it. Like, at the end of the day, it's if it never happens again, if this is the only season I get to do it, I better enjoy it, So like, just trying to keep that in the back of my head that like, hey, this is an experience, take it for what it is and have fun, but also, prove to myself that I belong here. No, I want to be, I would say if I'm top 10, then the season's a success. If I take home some carbon, then the season's a success. If if the car is still a car at the end of the year, the season is still a success. So,
Trust me, we heard that a lot before. So
yeah. So like expectations for sure. But also if I go out there and I get knocked out, like I'm not gonna be like, I hate this. I'm never doing this again. Like I'm just gonna take what I can from it and uh, study it and see what I did wrong, where I messed up and try and hit the next one harder. But definitely some expectations for sure. I mean, we went out with Dan and he killed his Pro 1 debut and
Sure did.
I think that was a lot of it was we were calm, we were collected. It was not a chaotic thing. It was it felt like another weekend at the track. It didn't feel like some crazy big thing was happening, and just that relaxed mindset and being prepped beforehand and knowing that we had the right equipment and the right people, and that's what gave that to him. It's you can't go into the first corner if the car's cutting out and sputtering, and you can't go into the first corner of a concrete wall line track with confidence. You're thinking about other things. So just trying to take care of what we can now so that when we're there, it's just doing the thing. That's really it.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, and to relate it to like people we've had conversations with in the past and stuff like that. When it comes, a lot of the guys that we like have worked with, like someone like Travis Reeder and working with him in his debut, and Nick Novak working with him in his debut, they had that kind of similar mindset where they went into it kind of being like, I just want to shred, man. And that's the mindset that I think you should have, because at the end of the day, when you go in there with no pressure is when you can enjoy yourself, and then you actually start showing what you're about, So
For sure.
I also think it's interesting because and I think this is why even more so that you guys are so compatible, is that Dan, and when we had a podcast with Dan just maybe a month or two ago, he shared the same exact sentiments, right?
Chilling.
Like just that he was saying, like, he's like, I've learned to really manage my expectations and try to focus on just going out there and having a good time and trying to like really shred and just, and not get too concerned. He's like, because when I press and when I really thought that I was going to, put this stuff in and I gave it a lot of thought, and when I overdid it, he's like, that's when it just bit me. So it's interesting that you guys have, I feel like, learned a really big lesson kind of so early on. So yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys do, man. It's really such a good note to kind of end on,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Like I said, Dan's taken a lot of the hard lumps on the head for me. That I don't have to learn the same lessons the hard way because I watched. I was part of it. So we do our stressing and our overthinking and stuff here beforehand. That's why I'm here till 2 a.m. Is where the car's aligned. We've thought about the track. We thought about what it's gonna do, how the car's gonna work, those kind of things, and we've tried to take care of, again, those things beforehand so that when we get there, it's just enjoy it, drive the car, have a good time. You're getting to do something that such a small percentage of people get to do. So if you're miserable the whole time, there's 0 point in doing it whatsoever. You're better off just sitting on the couch.
Yeah, listen, it really is. Like, I live that in my own life, is that like I really try to reflect on gratitude, because I feel like at the end of the day, like, we're all maybe given tasks or jobs, or we have, problems and different things like that. But if you can't be grateful for the things that kind of are going right, then you'll never really be able to live down the things that go wrong. So
For sure.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate you taking so much of it to kind of, talk to us and go
Absolutely.
through this. I really, and I know we do, like, we really, this whole podcast thing, I think there's a lot of people and whatever that are doing it because it's getting, maybe some more attention, or people are starting to do it. But like, we always started out these things just for the ability to have a good conversation
exactly
with other car people, and be able just to share like the conversation and the relationships with other people. I find in so many of these podcasts that there's so many good pointers and lessons and things that people can pick up regardless of which motorsport they're competing in, that it offers them a unique view into other professional drivers and other people in different heights and different accolades, to really be able to pick up some of the experience that they've had verbally along the way. So I appreciate you taking the time to share it with us.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think the relationships are honestly the biggest part of this.
Yeah.
And most of the time the guys can't find me when it's time to leave the track. It's because I'm off somewhere. I'm somewhere talking to somebody. But it definitely is. It's what makes it enjoyable, man. You
Yeah.
get to the track and you get to see your family and you get to reminisce and have a good time. And I think that at the end of the day, the relationships are probably the most important part of what we do in the automotive industry.
Absolutely. Listen, man, I don't think you could have ended it on a better note. I agree with that 1,000%.
So yeah, no, I just want to say thank you for being on with us. I think we're going to be seeing you in Jersey anyways, right? You're going to
For sure.
Yeah, so we'll be out there in Jersey. We'll kick it. We'll hang out and
maybe if you.
I got to set it up, as he's saying, because I got to set up the whole event. Well, as far as our booth and all that. So, but
start with
man,
sure.
We'll see you guys there, and thank you for taking the time with us, Kasey.
Absolutely. No, thanks for having me, guys. It was awesome.
Tell Dan we said congratulations if you wouldn't mind.
Will do, of course. I'm sure he's probably watching. He's driving the rig, so I'm sure he's got this going.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you're driving, Dan, don't look down.
Don't write anything in the comments, please.
You don't know Dan.
Oh man. All right, Kasey. Take care, man. We'll speak to you soon.
Have a good one, man.
All right, you guys have a good one.
All right. Good luck.
Later.
So listen, I mean, look, I think we've said everything we need to say, but it's always good catching up with people and getting to know people that are so car aligned. There's no other motivation. There's no, they're doing it because how could you not?
Yeah.
Right. So that's been super dope. And it's been nice, this is year one with Kasey and Mspek. We've had other dealings with people that are associated with Mspek before, but never really in a sense where we're directly with them. And so getting to know a bunch of these guys has been cool, interesting. In some cases, been a learning curve.
Yes.
Which is always, it's always challenging getting going because you don't have a tone with each other yet.
Yes.
And sometimes you'll go in talking one way and maybe the tone is misinterpreted. But we have had nothing but good vibes and thoughts from Dan and Kasey and the Mspek team, and a lot of respect and admiration for what they do there and the type of car people they are.
And didn't you want to just go to Oklahoma City and just be in there?
I just want to go. I want to go lay some carbon. I'm down. But anyhow, listen. Don't forget, there's a piece of content going up on our YouTube channel on Friday. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed because that's where the giveaway information tends to be. There's 2 giveaways going on right now. If you missed it, 2 giveaways are going on right now. One is with Hyperfest. Make sure you go check out Hyperfest's social media pages, including definitely the Instagram. Yep. Also, make sure that you are paying attention. If you're going to Hyperfest, come by the booth, say hello. It looks like as of right now, it looks like most of us are, me, Luis, Max, and Jim, who's our sales manager, we should be out there. So if you're going to Hyperfest, come hang out with us for a little bit, say hello. Grab an autograph picture of Luis. We had 8x10 glossies. I'm just kidding. So come through. Hey, we're gonna try to do something cool in the booth to give away a set of wheels during that weekend. I think we'll probably announce the winner thereafter, but we'll get all the data. We'll get everybody a chance to enter. So if you're in that Hyperfest realm and region, come through, say what's up, and that's it. By the way, if you're at Hyperfest, there may or may not be some of our new wheels there. So,
ooh, yeah, boy.
Anyhow, take care of yourself, and we'll be back here next week. Will we? Yeah, we will. We'll be back here next week. Take care of yourself, and peace out.
Peace.